All right, so we are going to go over drop shadow in the edit page. This won't be any type of fusion stuff, so we're just going to go over basically 3 ways of adding drop shadow to media in the edit page. First, we're going to look at adding drop shadow to a PNG image, and then we will look at 2 ways of adding drop shadow to text. So we're going to drag in this PNG image, and we are going to stretch it out. It didn't do the best job of actually selecting this image. You can see it looks kind of rough around the edges, but we'll work with it. So to find drop shadow, you would come over here and you would just click on your Open Effects tab, and then you would go up into this search bar and start to type in drop shadow, and it should just pop up. And then you would drag and drop it right onto your image, and you see the drop shadow already shows up. And then over here in the inspector tab, this is where you can control and adjust things for the shadow. So you can up the shadow strength, you can bring the blur down so the shadow has a lot more kind of solid looking, and then of course you can adjust the angle and the distance and the color. And you have your keyframes here, so if you want to, you can animate the shadow as well. I always talk about where the keyframe diamonds are present, that means you can animate. So that is adding drop shadow to a PNG image. So now let's look at adding drop shadow to basic text, or to a basic title. So we'd click the drop down on the toolbox, go down to titles, hit titles, go over, and we have basic title. We're going to drag that over into the timeline above our background, and I'm actually going to just kind of change the font to something a little bit kind of bolder, increase the size a little bit. And so if you want to add a drop shadow to this, you can try to do it the same way you did for the PNG image, which is just go into Open Effects, type in drop shadow in the search bar, grab drop shadow and drag and try to drop it onto your text. It won't do it. So how are we going to get the drop shadow on here? What you have to do is you have to right click on your basic title and then hit new compound clip, and you can rename it. It gives you the option to name it if you want. I'm not going to do it in this instance. Just hit create. And so now this is a compound clip, and now you can drop your drop shadow onto it. If you drag the drop shadow over, you see it's going to let you drop it now, and then you drop it on and you see it shows up. And once again, in the inspector tab, you have the parameters for adjusting your drop shadow strength, decrease the blur if you want to make it a little more kind of clear and defined, angle, distance, color, all of those things you can change. So that is adding the drop shadow to just the basic text, basic title. So now let's delete that. How would we add a drop shadow to, say, custom title, text plus as it's called sometimes? So over here in the titles area below basic title text, you have custom title. So we drag that into our timeline, drop it. I won't worry about, changing the font or anything right now, but well, actually no, I'm gonna go ahead and change the font. It's something just slightly bolder, that's all. All right, so then to do drop shadow with a custom title, what you would do in the inspector tab, you see this text plus menu where you have text, layout, transform, shading, image settings. You'd click on this option right here where it says shading. Click that, and then you get this page where you have shading elements. And you can select an element number 1 through 8. What you want to do is you want to click on 3, and then you get black shadow, and then you want to enable this by clicking the enabled box. And once you click that, you can see you get your black shadow or drop shadow. It shows up, and then you can customize it by going down lower on this page here and adjusting color. You have softness, glow if you happen to be doing something where that would make sense, and then position, rotation, shear, size, basically all the kind of basic things you need to adjust the way the shadow looks. And that is basically it. Those are 3 ways to add drop shadow in the edit page. You got your adding drop shadow to a PNG image, as well as adding drop shadow to basic text, and then adding drop shadow to custom title or Text Plus, as you might want to call it. So that is the video. Hopefully it helped you out. It is very kind of, there's a kind of a beginner's thing. I know this isn't really special or advanced or anything like that, but some people, this will be useful for them. So hopefully it helped you out. Catch you on the next one.